And here we are for a rare midweek episode of Adult Music.
Not only is it midweek, the sun is out.
It's daytime. We usually record at night.
Yeah.
So this is what I look like, Russ. You can.
Oh, God.
The sun is coming in the window.
It's the reflection is killing me. You got a filter you can put on that, or
yeah, that's what she said. Okay. Anyway.
Whoa. Yeah. And as a adult beverage, I don't even have any Knob Creek. I've got black tea with ginger. How's that for a change? We're going to be caffeinated instead of bourbonated today.
I'm not boozified myself. Bourbonated is a good word. What did I say? Boozified. Boozinated would be okay too. Right. Yeah, I like the word booze. It's kind of a funny word for alcohol.
I like it too. Yeah, it's close to some other words. It kind
of captures the way you feel when you drink it. I think too much of it. I think. Anyway,
this is a special episode 31, midweek, and we have a reason to be here.
Yeah. This is the we stayed up all night, or at least one of us did, watching the Gramophone Awards, and we know all the winners, the Record of the Year, the Special Achievement Awards, and we wanted to talk about them because we had been looking at the nominees and the winners, and a lot of the nominees on their shortlist were albums that we talked about through the year, and we just sort of wanted to revisit them and to talk about some of the other albums from last year that we heard before we had started doing the podcast that we really wanted to mention because we like them a lot. So we decided we'd go through the winners and the categories one by one and let you know how we feel about all of them, all of these albums.
For better or worse?
For better or worse. Usually better, though, in this case.
Usually.
Yeah. So we liked this. I generally think Gramophone has good taste in recordings. They tend to pick really well.
You like awards a lot more than I do. I don't really like awards, but
I don't know that I like awards. I think I like these awards, and I like the Diapason d'Or at the end of the year, the French magazine, because they tend to pick good things too. The reason why is because I miss a lot of stuff, and sometimes they'll pick something that I've missed, and then I listen to it. I'm like, wow, this is really good. I wouldn't have heard this otherwise.
That's the only reason I like them. In case I missed something new that I could.
And that's why we do this podcast too, so that we can alert each other and you, listener.
That's right. So
to records that you should, we think you should hear.
So you don't have to spend all your time searching like the music nerds. I want to say I do have a Deezer. Playlist for this episode, like the other ones, but it only has the winners in each category. We'll post the Gramophone official links if you want to find out more information on all of the albums nominated. There's just too much to put everything in one playlist. It would take you a month and a half to listen to all of those recordings anyway. So just the winners that are available, because there are some selections on Hyperion which are not available on streaming.
Yeah. I personally, we both actually love the Hyperion label, and we want to encourage them to get their stuff up on some streaming sites just to make things easier for everybody. It's hard to recommend music from Hyperion when they can only go and sample their recordings at the site. So I don't know.
That's right. I mean, if we like it, we're going to buy it anyway. So Hyperion and Sony, get with it. Before we start out with things...
Don't say anything to make them mad. I really love their pianists. They have all my favorite pianists on that label.
So before we get started, as always, I'd like to remind everyone who's listening, in our episode description, you'll find the links to what we're talking about this week, just the Gramophone links and the short Spotify list, and you'll see that there. Not Spotify, rather, but Deezer, for our full episode playlists. That'll be at the top of the description. And you can also follow us on Deezer at username Adult Music Podcast. If you can't see the full description of the episode or the links on whatever app or platform you listen to us on, please jump over to our host Podbean. Everything's clear with the links are easy to follow from our home site. And if you enjoy the podcast, please do follow or subscribe on whatever app or platform you're listening to us on. Take a moment, give us a ranking or write a review. That helps us get listed in the browsing category recommendations among all of the K-pop music commentary selections. Right. And that'll help us reach more people and increase the size of our audience. And as always, if you'd like to contact us directly, with any comments or questions. Our email address is adultmusicpodcast, all one word, at gmail.com.
I find K-pop commentary to be incisive, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. At least it helps me tell all those bands apart, because I really want to know what makes them unique.
Yeah. Good observation.
That's okay. Anyway, I don't think we're going to offend anyone in our audience. So.
Not in our audience, anyway. I don't think unless their daughters are listening in the background or something. I don't know.
Could be.
Okay. Anyway, let's get started. Yeah, I want to start kind of in the middle here. All right. So they announced all these categories, and then on the night of the awards, and we waited for the awards because we know what the record of the year is, which we do. But before we get to that, I want to go to some of the special awards, which we had no idea what they were going to be or who was nominated for this or anything. And it turns out that the Special Achievement Award for this year was won by the Boston Modern Orchestra Project, or affectionately known as BMOP. Conducted by Gil Rose, who is a friend of the podcast. We interviewed him earlier this year.
At least he was before we talked to him, but
maybe he doesn't like us
we hope he's still our friend.
Well, I think after we give him this shout out, he'll like us again, or if he ever stopped, I don't know. But this was I was really very happy to hear about this. It made me think back to the interview and some of the recordings when we had decided to do this interview. I was looking through his recordings, and there are so many of them. It's just overwhelming. It's a project to record a lot of American composers who probably many of whom haven't really been well represented on record. And boy, the sheer amount of recordings here are just making me see empty bank accounts on my side, because I want every one of them. But there are a select few that we talked about, and we limited what we were going to talk about because there were just too many. And this is a project that we highly recommend, and we also recommend that you go back and listen to the Gil Rose interview. It was very interesting. He had a lot to say about a lot of topics and an overwhelming amount of music. So
that's
congratulations to BMOP and to Gil Rose. And to everybody involved.
Interview
in
number
that project.
2. And I'll put a link in this description too, so you can access it easily if you haven't heard it yet.
Okay, let's just go down the list here. Lifetime Achievement Award went to Gundula Janowitz, a German soprano who now lives in Austria, apparently. I think she recorded with Karajan a bit. I think she's very old, too. I didn't check her age, but, Lifetime Achievement Award, I mean, she would be, towards her later years. I can't really say much about that, though. I do know that she's had this illustrious career. Okay, an artist that we're going to say more about a little later, James Ennis, won Artist of the Year. He's a British violinist, and he has this sweet nougaty tone, and he released I think he released 2 Beethoven Violin Sonata albums this year, and probably a lot of other things. And I have a lot to say about the one I heard. Boy, it was really stunning. He's got this beautiful sound. Okay, label of the year went to Deutsche Grammophon. A good choice, because Deutsche Grammophon in recent years, not really though, because you think of them as that cartouche and the famous, sort of album covers, but I don't know what they did. They've revamped their art department or something, because there have been a lot of really interesting images on the covers and interesting projects released. I remember last year there's the John Adams Must the Devil Have All the Best Tunes, and they just released this Florence Price symphonies record that I really want to hear. I haven't heard it yet. And also all the Vikingur Olafsson. First of all, they signed him. He's really an amazing pianist, and I think he from interviews I've heard of him, he has his own art department, I think. But the album covers are really spectacular, not to mention the playing and the programming. They've been a really interesting label for the last few years. It hasn't just been these releases coming out. And it sounds like some motorcycle has just parked itself in front of my house here. So we're going to have to hear that rumbling in the background. He just shut it off.
They also had the...
Okay, anyway, Deutsche Grammophon, good for them.
They also had the
I'm really
Trifonov.
excited by what they're doing.
The Trifonov covers were
Danilo
really
Trifonov,
nice too.
Yeah,
with the train
we could
photos.
Go on and on, really.
Yeah. So kind of inviting you into the the music through the art. much more than they used to anyway.
Yeah, I also enjoyed, like, they're doing a Brookner series with Andres Nelsons, and they're using this kind of like blue tinted sort of images on the covers. It's just really nice. I like what they're doing artistically. I like who their art, the artists, the new artists that they're signing. It's just yeah, it's been pretty fantastic actually recently. I enjoyed them a lot. I could go on and on about this as new Deutsche Grammophon releases, or as I remember, recent Deutsche Grammophon releases, but check them out. Okay, especially the new Vikingur Olafsson Mozart and Contemporaries album, which we reviewed 2 episodes ago. Fantastic. We'll see that on the Gramophone Awards next year, I think.
I'd imagine.
Okay,
so,
Young Artist of the Year. Someone who also won in the song category. This is Fatma Saeed. She's an Egyptian soprano, very young, and yeah, she sounds like someone to keep your ears on. She sang in several languages on that album. It was pretty amazing. She has this really nice sort of a very appealing and sort of flexible voice. Flexible meaning like she can kind of manipulate it to fit the character that she's singing. We'll talk more about that in a moment because we're going to get to that recording later. Orchestra of the Year went to the Minnesota Orchestra. Now, I didn't look this up. We just heard about this. Osmo Vanska is usually conducting them, and I have a bunch of those Mahler recordings. No, he's doing Mahler with them, right? Is it them? I don't remember, but I do know he redid the Sibelius symphonies with them, and I've been listening to a bit of that. They record on the Beast label, and those come out on SACD all the time too, which is even better for us. We love SACD. A little more to say about that later. And concept album. This went to Cello 360 by Christian Pierre Lamarca on the Naive label. I haven't heard this. I don't know anything about it. I just learned about it 3 hours ago, so I can't tell you anything about it. Maybe we'll give it a listen.
He's got his airborne stance on the cover.
Yeah.
Looks pretty interesting.
Right. Okay, just one more thing. Did you listen to the spatial audio at all?
I tried.
Well, we heard the recordings.
Yeah.
The winner in this category was Josquin Jacquet Winder's The Golden Renaissance, which we reviewed on this podcast, but we didn't review it in the spatial audio version. So that was the winner.
Not much chance that's probably going to happen on my end.
You didn't like it, huh?
No, I mean
we liked the album because we did talk about it, but
I listened to some of these short audio samples, but not being a member of Apple Music anymore, I can't do kind of an extended listening. But my impression on the short samples provided will be that for music, I hope this goes the way of like quadraphonic sound. It becomes a footnote in the history. I think it might have some interest for movies and gaming. Yeah. But, I just wasn't very impressed. And I found the few samples to be quite different and distracting from the musical content. But I don't know. I couldn't listen to more than 20 seconds or so at a time. So.
Well, interesting. Because there's another Josquin album that won the early music category, and I'm going to have a lot of very good things to say about that when we get to it. Okay, we are now in the regular categories, and I guess we should start with Record of the Year, which, all right, let me explain to listeners how we did this. There were way too many recordings for us to hear. It just happened that we reviewed quite a bit of these, or talked about them. We don't really review anything. We talk about them on the podcast, and...
because what do we know?
Yeah, what do we know? We're not reviewing anything. We're just saying if we like them or not. Anyway, we're giving an informed opinion, informed by our... life experience
and musical prejudices
and musical well, I don't know. I try to, I guess those come in, but I don't know. Okay, so the way we divide it, we couldn't listen to them all, so we made sure to hear all of the winners, at least one of us, because there wasn't enough time. Gramophone, I think September 1st, September 3rd, around that date, Gramophone put the shortlist out. And then they announced the winners 3 weeks later before I could even get started listening to a lot of these recordings. And then 2 weeks after that, they had the Gramophone Awards. It's just too short of a window. So I tried to hear the albums that really interested me at least, and we Russ and I divided between us all 11 categories, the winners of all 11 categories. So I had to hear all the ones with vocals in them, and he heard the ones with the instrumentals in them. And there's a bit of overlap in that. You know, I've heard some of the instrumentals, and I think he heard one or two of the vocal ones too. So it turns out that the record of the year is not only a vocal category album, but an opera. And it's a really good package. Benjamin Britten, Peter Grimes, Stuart Skelton, tenor. He plays Peter Grimes. Erin Wall, soprano, is Ellen Orford. And Roderick Williams, baritone, Balstrode. Susan Bickley, mezzo-soprano, is Auntie. And there are many, many others. This is really a who's who of great British singers on this album. There are a lot more. Sorry to not go down the list. Okay, this is the Choir of Collegium Musicum, Bergen Philharmonic Choir and Orchestra, conducted by Edward Gardner on the Chandos label. It's an SACD, which makes everything even better. This is a pretty spectacular sounding recording. Boy, I'm sibilant today. I gotta get like a sibilant guts on this mic or something. All right. Now, I made some lists of this. I gotta open this particular file here. Here we go. I gave this a pretty careful listen quite a while ago. Now, Peter Grimes is you would think the main character. He is. He's not really the main character, as he is the main focus of attention of the other characters in the story. This is really an ensemble piece. At least on this particular recording, it came across that way to me. A lot of the drama occurs in what people think and say about Peter Grimes, who's a rather nasty and really, by the end, mentally ill fisherman who elicits a lot of gossip from the town people. The whole opera takes place in a fishing village. The action takes place in a fishing village, and gossip is a key theme, as you would imagine. The opera starts with a prologue in which Grimes is in court in his fishing village, being cross-examined about the death of his young boy apprentice, who seems to have died of lack of drinking water, so dehydration, due to Grimes's fanatical desire to reach London after a big catch. The wind turned against them, they were at sea for 3 days, ran out of drinking water, and the boy died. Swallow, the coroner, also mayor and leading lawyer of the small borough, so, this is a really small borough, returns a verdict of accidental death, and Grimes complains that despite the verdict, the townspeople will continue to gossip about him, making his life miserable, which is what happens. Okay, except for Ellen Orford, the schoolmistress, who he loves and who helps him. We're already getting into this tangled opera type of narrative. A lot of characters, and they all get intertwined. There are a lot of great orchestral interludes in this work, and they kind of comment on the action, sort of musically, that has been happening. They depict the state of the sea and the state of Grimes's mind. The two are sort of equated in the opera. It's a really good opera, actually. It's all in English, by the way. I should say the text is English. Act 1 starts a few days later. Grimes is being shunned. No one helps him haul his boat ashore. And the apothecary, Ned Keene, has procured a new boy apprentice for Grimes. Ellen agrees to go get him. Act 2 starts with Ellen finding that the boy is bruised and his clothes torn due to abuse at Grimes's hands. Ellen confronts Grimes, they quarrel, and he slaps her. This is not a likable character. Some of the community decide to go to Grimes's hut to find out what's going on, and when Grimes hears them coming, he pushes the boy out of a cliffside door where the boy slips and falls to his death, so now he's killed 2 of his apprentices. Grimes scrambles down the cliff after him. In Act 3, Grimes has been gone a few days. There's a dance at the local hall. Mrs. Sedley, one of the borough's leading gossips, overhears Ellen when she tells Balstrode, a friendly retired merchant skipper, that she has found the boy's jersey washed up on the shore, and she in turn tells Swallow, the coroner and lawyer. Swallow summons the Constable Hobson to organize a posse to apprehend Grimes, and in the final scene, Grimes, who is now insane, tries to return to his hut. Ellen and Balstrode find him, but it is too late. Balstrode tells him to sail out to sea. It's too late because he's already crazy. Balstrode tells him to sail out to sea, sink his boat, and go down with it. At dawn, we hear a report of a boat sinking, but no one is concerned. That's the story. Gorgeous choral singing. I think now people are going to talk about Stuart Skelton as Grimes, and he has some really fantastic numbers. He plays this role to be an unlikable character, so you're not really sympathizing with him in his tone. He kind of sounds unlikable just by the way he's presented by Skelton. It's a good performance. I think if the original version of this was sung by Peter Pears, of course, because Benjamin Britten's leading tenor, among other things, and Pears had a likable voice, so I think there's a little sympathy for the character there, but Skelton doesn't play him that way. I did find the performance really dramatic. It's not a beautiful opera, but it's very dramatic. I listened to this all the way through in a single setting, which is unusual for me. Usually I'll listen to the acts, individually. And I'll take a break in between. But this was really compelling. I wanted to go through and hear it all. It's a very English-sounding chorus, which is very appropriate for this. There's a lot of local color added to give the opera a bit of realism, local in the small town. And the opera, like I said, goes for drama more than any beauty of singing. No worries there. It's very compelling. The vocal stars are the members of the chorus and the ensemble singing. I thought this was the best of this. And I think that opera's designed this way. I don't think the solo parts really... they get their opportunity to be heard, but they don't really ever really own the opera because there are so many voices happening in choruses and in ensemble pieces and things like that. The biggest impression came from the chorus and the ensemble singing of the soloists for me. And the orchestra is also fantastic on this. Their music provides a lot of drama and foreboding, all expertly handled by Gardner and his orchestra. And some great brass ensemble playing in Interlude 4. Let's see. Okay. Sound quality on this is great, and if you hear it in SACD, probably even better. Of all the other operas in this category, I would say, that would be the one to hear. Good choice, I think, given what we have. I don't know. I thought it was really compelling. I liked it a lot. Okay, in the opera category, let's just go through this. We have Dalla Piccola, Luigi Dalla Piccola, Il Prigioniero, an Italian opera from the 20th century that I had never heard before, and I made sure to hear this. And I enjoyed this. It was really good. It was very listenable, although a little depressing. The prisoner tries to escape his prison. The original story took place in around the time of the Spanish Inquisition, but Dalla Piccola kind of updated it a bit. And he escapes and only meets his jailer and at the last moment, and I don't know. We don't know what happens to him. He's either brought back or executed. It sounds depressing, but it's really good, especially on the Chandos recording by the National Concerto Choir and Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Gianandrea Noceda. It's an SACD too. Excellent stuff. John Eccles' Semele. We had an opera of Handel's Semele last year, so now we have the same libretto set by a different composer. This one was performed by the Cambridge Handel Opera Company, Academy of Ancient Music, Julian Perkins, AAM on AAM Records. The story is about it involves the gods, the ancient, in this case, Roman gods. Really Greek gods with Roman names. Zeus falls for Semele, brings her up to, I guess Mount Olympus or wherever they are in ancient Rome. And Act 2 is all of them in the bedroom, and Jupiter's wife getting all mad about it. And she tells us, she disguises herself as Semele's friend and tells Semele to ask Zeus to reveal himself in his full godhood, and Zeus does that, and she is reduced to ash, and all the other characters marry the people they like at the end. Give it a listen. It's really good. Okay, Henry Purcell, or Purcell, we're supposed to say these days, The Fairy Queen. I've heard several recordings of this. This is by the Gabrielli Consort and Players, Paul McCreesh, on Signum Records. Charming. Really great. it's mostly ensemble works in this one, because I think it's not really an opera as much as it's there's a lot of incidental music. I think there's a lot of dialogue in this that we don't hear on this recording. But these are charming works. I really enjoyed this a lot. Give that a listen. The next one, Antonio Salieri, who you might from, you might have heard his name in the movie Amadeus. He was a contemporary of Mozart. He was hardly the hack that the movie sort of makes him out to be. I mean, he had a good career. And this is one of the operas that made him, Armida. It was performed when he was very young. I think he was 18 years old when he wrote this. I didn't actually hear this one, so I'm not going to say much more about it, but it's on the Aparte label, AP 244. Performed by soloists Les Talents Lyriques, conducted by Christophe Rousset, who does a lot like William Christie, who we talked about last week, I believe, to revive French opera. The last one is Richard Strauss, Die Frau ohne Schatten, the Woman Without a Shadow, one of the operas he did with Hofmannsthal. This one came after De Rosenkavalier. I didn't hear this one. I would like to, though. I'm going to have to. Christian Thielemann is the conductor, and the chorus and orchestra of the Vienna State Opera are the performers. This is on the Orfeo label. And I don't know the soloists here. Stephen Gould, Camilla Nielund, and Nina Stemma are some of these singers. So that's the opera category, and the record of the year, and the winner of the opera category, Benjamin Britten, Peter Grimes. Let's go to the top. Chamber music.
Chamber
the winner
music.
Here. Yeah. We both heard this one, I think.
Yeah, I should say first, all of these recordings are really excellent quality recordings, the sound on them. They're really amazing, which is not as much as I could say for all of the categories, but everything here is fabulous sounding.
Not only that, they're all fantastic performances as well. This is a really hot category, hotly contested category, I think. As far as I'm concerned. I don't know how the voting actually went, but I liked all of these. I would hear all 6.
Yeah, so we've got the winner, the Cox Quartet, with Garrick Olsen, Beach and Elgar, piano quintets. And these are really passionate performances, especially on the Beach. It's got a really dramatic first movement. And, the Elgar is also quite dramatic with a lovely second movement. What I noticed about the Cox group is that they have a really unique string tone, especially in the violins.
Yeah, that's what helps them in this recording.
Yeah, really. I have their Brahms quartets recording also, and that really searing tone to the violins. It's identifiable almost instantly. And so these performances are really good of these early 20th century works, and the recording quality is also superb. So I guess it's easy to see why they were picked for the winners in this category. I want to mention, by the way, the Amy Beach String Quintet. We reviewed a recording of this by the Kaleidoscope Chamber Collective, and we kind of we joked about there a lot of climaxes being reached in the piece, and the Kaleidoscope Chamber Collective kind of really drew out a lot of that in their performance. The Tokac performance in Garrick Olsen, this particular one, is a lot more subtle, I thought. They really didn't highlight all the climaxes the way the Kaleidoscope Chamber Collective did. They they didn't accent them. Let's say they just kind of kept going. I thought this was a really authoritative and performance. They got the magisterial tone that the Beach demands. They were just more sensitive, I thought. Now, that's not to say that the Kaleidoscope Chamber Collective performance wasn't good. It was. It's just a different approach. So it really depends on what you're looking for there. The Elgar is a big work. Yeah, this is a big work. Each movement is over 10 minutes long. That's a lot for a chamber group.
And that was really appealing as well. So I actually would hear this. This whole recording is really great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Now, did you hear the Beethoven violin sonatas?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I thought this was a spectacular performance and recording.
Also very passionately performed with great dynamics. That's what stood out for me. And Ennis is real. I guess he has, to me, a singing quality to the way he plays. And
Now, this is James Ennis is the artist of the year. Remember, we mentioned earlier, and this is this recording of his and Andrew Armstrong on piano on the Onyx label.
Mm-hmm.
Were nominated for the Chamber Award. Okay. Yeah, this was fantastic.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
I was overwhelmed really by the sound quality and the balance between the violin and piano. Everything is just so perfectly captured on this record. I thought this one would probably win the category just because of the recording quality and because, as you know, Ennis, he's won the Artist of the Year award. I kind of figured that this would really put him over the top, but I guess it didn't. Okay, next we have Simpson and Mozart. Oh, this was so good. Especially the Mark Simpson piece. Now, we listened to this last year. I remember kind of sending this your way. This is long before we started the podcast. But it's a clarinet work, or for work for solo clarinet. I don't think I wouldn't call it a concerto, but it's called Geyser, Mark Simpson's work. And it features, one of the things I loved about it, the clarinet is really hyperactive, and one of the qualities I love about the clarinet is it can get this, when it plays really rapidly in its lower end, it gets this kind of like bubbling lava kind of sound, like, and he does a lot of that in this work, and I kind of enjoyed it. It's very appealing. It's only 7 minutes long, and the rest of the CD, or the album, is dedicated to Mozart's Gran Partita Serenade, expertly played here. This is on the Orchid label. And who plays on this? Boy, there's a lot of people.
They don't have an ensemble name. It's just individuals.
Yeah, they just list all of the musicians.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But give that a listen. I would hear all of this. It's really good.
I liked, especially the woodwind performances on the Mozart are very robust. And it comes through with the recording sound. The only thing I feel... There's a few other albums in the lists that it's an odd pairing to me to jump from the Simpson to the Mozart. As far as
he claims that he wrote the Simpson as an introduction to the Mozart. Yeah, though. But I don't know about that. It sounds a lot different.
Yeah, I'm glad he told us that. That's the only thing. Individually, they're both very interesting, but you might want a little coffee break between listening to them.
Maybe.
Just my opinion.
I liked this a lot. Okay, Telemann, I didn't hear. It's Baroque. I know I'd love it. Did you hear this?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
These are excellent performances and really detailed but full-sounding recording.
Well, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Really good Telemann performances. Yeah, you'll like this.
Okay.
I'll listen to
it's
this
called
one.
La Quereluse.
Quereluse. On the
Etc. label, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting label name.
But La Quereluse. Quereluse. I'm trying to say it the French way. I can't really do it anymore.
I mean, I thought they were really good, but the gramophone write-up of it was really gushing in the performances.
Did you think that the performance lived up to the gushing review?
I've listened to some Telemann, but I don't know if I've heard all of these works to compare exactly to. But I thought it was, very good. I could see why it was on the list, yeah. And I enjoyed the contrast, in time periods and things when I got to this. Yeah. So.
When I read a gushing review, I'm always worried that my expectations are too high, and then you hear it, and I'm like, it's good, but it's not as good as they said it was. So I almost want to read a bad review and then say, what are they talking about? This is fantastic, I don't know. Next, a record we reviewed or talked about on the podcast, Proust, Le Concert Retrouvé, a concert at the Ritz during the Belle Époque. This was performed by our good friend, we say our friend, we never talked to him, Théotime Langlois de Svart and Tanguy de Willencourt on piano. De Svart is playing the violin.
Yeah, we just talked about him last weekend, didn't we?
We did, in the Baroque performance.
Yeah. On this recording, we talked about in episode 9, if you'd like to go back and check that out. Mostly I liked it. The program is interesting, and his lovely, sweet violin sound. This really light sound with great phrasing. So it's an enjoyable program.
Yeah, I personally thought that we did this in tandem with the Stephen Eserlis, sort of a similar Proust concert program. He's on the cello. And I thought that was the better recording, but they picked this one. This one, I loved the program. It had a lot of my favorite works on it. But I felt like the balance, because Langlois de Svart has a very kind of light, delicate tone. And, you can hear him to his best advantage, accompanied by William Christie on the record that we reviewed last week. But with the Erard piano playing of Tanguy de Willencourt, I felt like the balance was off. Like he couldn't be heard all the time. And I thought some of the interpretations were a little odd. That was me. Okay, that's the way I felt about it. I liked the Eserlis recording. It was more straightforward, and I really preferred that one. And that one was also an SACD, and this one is not. This is on the Harmonia Mundi label, by the way. I may have to listen to this again, though. I don't know. It's been months, so I should give it another listen and see if my mind has changed.
It's a nice one.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe because we listened to them at the same time. We're comparing.
Yeah. Next one, Nordic Rhapsody. We reviewed this one, too.
This is episode 25. Yes.
Oh. SACD. Bis SACD. Johann Dahlin, violinist who did a great, I believe, Tchaikovsky violin concerto last year. Or was it Barber? I can't remember. Maybe it was both. And then Christian Ile Hadland on the piano, who's considerably older than him, I think. Yeah, I liked this a lot, too.
Yeah, this is the one with the Nordic program here. So you get some
Nordic
Nielsen,
Rhapsody,
which is always good. And I didn't know the Sinding, so that was good to hear something new. I thought it's mostly lovely playing. Sometimes, he may be a bit too over the top with enthusiasm, but he's only 20 years old. So, really amazing young player on violin here.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we come to the choral music. The winner here is Dušek. Dušek, I should pronounce it. He's Czech. All right. His Messe Solennelle, which came out in 1811. Now, if you know your music history, Beethoven wrote his Fifth Symphony in 1808. And this was really Beethoven's big dominant kind of period. So this mass comes across as a bit of a throwback to an earlier era. There are even Baroque elements in it. But, I mean, it does very much sound like it's cast in a classical mold. This was performed by the Academy of Ancient Music, choir of the AAM, and the harpsichordist Richard Egar is the conductor here, and he's probably also playing there's no continuo. Okay, the vocalists are Stephanie True, Helen Charleston, Gwilym Bowen, and Morgan Pierce, and the album is on AAM Records. First of all, if you buy the CD of this album, it's absolutely fantastic. It's got a hardback, CD-sized booklet in it, and along with a cardboard box that contains the CD, and both slip into a hard slipcase. It's really good value. It'll probably last forever, too. And it's excellent design, too. I really liked the package. It'd be nice if more things came out like this. The album consists only of the hour-long mass. And Dušek was Czech. He came from, I guess, the area just east of Vienna, and Vienna at the time was a real hotbed of musical creativity during Mozart's and Beethoven's lifetime, both, and really into the 20th century. It's an attractive work that's worth hearing, and it's given a really sumptuous performance here. The mass is pretty elaborate, and it harkens back to the Baroque at the beginning in the Kyrie. It's gorgeously sung. I love the choruses in this recording. The singing quickly becomes operatic and leaves the Baroque behind once the Kyrie is over. Okay, and then I have there are a lot of tracks on this album, 19 tracks in total until we get to the very end. I enjoyed it. It went by very fast, which is unusual for a mass for me, especially if it's a real mass and you're actually in church. But it was this was a really nice performance. It seemed like a continuous piece of music. It didn't seem like it went by in sections, which it did. Duschek doesn't seem to be picking up on much that Beethoven was doing at the time, but it doesn't matter. It's a late classical work, and it's got some Baroque touches, and I liked it. It was good. Okay, some other recordings in this category. Bieber, Requiem in F minor, and some other vocal works. We talked about this on the podcast. You remember this one?
Yeah, I don't know which episode it was, but
we liked this one. We thought the sound quality was really good, and we liked the sound world that the whole Bieber work conjured up. It was sort of a Baroque era, sort of rich tone. This is by the Freiburg Baroque Consort with Lionel Meunier on the Alpha label, one of our favorite labels, actually. And also, we thought this was well worth hearing. I didn't re-listen to this, but I remember that we talked about it back in the day. But we liked it, and I recommend hearing it. Okay, next is Brookner, Latin Motets. I didn't hear this one. Sorry, folks. Anyway, let's go past that. I'm really curious to hear what a Brookner motet would sound like, because I just know the symphonies. I'm going to have to give that a listen. Haydn, Die Schöpfung. Now, this one, I didn't hear this one either, but I want to mention this is by Il Giardino Armonico and Giovanni Antonini conducting. And I've been following their Haydn symphonies, the Haydn 2027 project, I believe it's called. 2030. I can't remember now. Boy, I should have written this down. This is part of that, but it's not a symphony. It's a choral work about the creation. It's sung in German. Anna Lucia Richter is the soprano on this, and we talked about her Monteverdi recording on an earlier episode. Maximilian Schmidt is the tenor. Florian Busch, baritone. Bavarian Radio Choir, and Il Giardino Armonico, of course. I'd have to hear this to really talk about it, though, because I don't know what their approach was. They had been doing a lot of aggressive sort of, pacing of their music, and I have to hear this. Next, Purcell, Henry Purcell. They keep making me say Purcell. I don't like it. Royal Odes by the King's Consort with a who's who of British vocal soloists. This is on the Vivat label. I'm going to have to issue a trigger warning for this one. The texts are all written to kings or queens of the time, and they're very obsequious. So if you're put off by vomit-inducing obsequiousness, you might not like these. If you could just kind of let that go, these are really fantastic works. They're beautifully recorded, too. There are all kinds of things in the text, like you're relating the king and the queen to Caesar, who rules the world and is good to his subjects or her subjects, that sort of thing. If you think of Bach's letter to the when he was trying to get a job to this wealthy, royal, it's really just horrible, because you think of Bach as the top guy, but it wasn't that way at the time. Anyway, but this is really good. I like this a lot. There are 3 works on it. They are Why Are All the Muses Mute? The second ode, How Does the Glorious Day Appear? Now Does the Glorious Day Appear? Written for the birthday of Queen Mary in 1689. And 2 years later, he wrote another piece for Queen Mary's birthday called Welcome, Welcome, Glorious Morn. Nice titles. I really like the sort of poeticness of these titles. I kind of miss that in English these days. This is an exceptionally clear recording with just enough reverb to prevent the recording from sounding dry. So it's not terribly, there's not a lot of room sound, but there's enough. It's a very natural sound. Sounds like a big space. the three odes are kind of samey. They sound like Purcell's music, but they're all uplifting. If you want to, what you do? If you want to be uplifted, read the obsequious text and pretend that they're being sung to you. You can feel good about yourself.
Can be an aristocrat for a day, yes.
Yeah, you can be an aristocrat for a day. This is what's nice about recorded classical music, is you're the audience now. It's not just some long dead European king or queen anymore. Anyway, the last in this category was Ethel Smith, The Prison. Now it's a vocal. It's hard to explain what this is. She describes it as a symphony in the ancient Greek sense of concordance of sweet sounds, not in the sense of orchestral genre. But it's a really interesting work. Now, we talked about this on the Grammys earlier in the year. This was nominated for a choral Grammy, which it didn't. I don't think it won. I don't remember. But I listened to this again, and I liked it a lot more this time. It is a very British work. Ethel Smith was English. Incidentally, there's a picture of her with a bunch of it says it's a photo of her and a bunch of guys in suits, and the caption reads, "Dame Ethel Smith with other composers, all male, at an ISCM festival in Salzburg, August 1922." Okay. Now, she's the only woman there, and she didn't need that highlighted, I didn't think, in the caption. But the other composers, just other composers, three of those other composers were Anton Webern, Paul Hindemith, and Smith's compatriot Arthur Bliss. And they're all pretty high-level people in the composition world. So I think they deserved a little shout-out for being in that photo as well. All right? Anyway. There's
other guys.
Other guys. Anton Webern isn't an other guy. Sorry. Neither is Paul Hindemith. Yeah, all the other composers I probably could have been referred to as other guys. I don't know, because I didn't know who they were. Okay, there's an essay on the composer's life, which is very informative. Okay, they're trying to revive this composer's music. She was pretty popular, as are many composers we find during their lifetimes, and then once they die, their music just sort of goes away, and it really depends on whether they have like a support group that's going to get them, or a society that's going to get them performed and keep proselytizing for them. So Ethel Smith is benefiting a lot from the revival of women composers these days, so a lot of her music is coming back as well. This was an interesting work, actually. I think it takes a few listens to really get it. It's a little strange, and I wrote long notes on it that I don't want to go through. It's got some really interesting points in it, where there's one bit where she uses Greek modes, and you can hear it very clearly that this is really different than the rest of the composition. It's sort of about this prisoner. He's in prison and he's going to die, and it's about how his soul will rise to a better place, and at the end it does that. It's pretty interesting, worth hearing. It's also an SACD, which makes it, and it sounds great. All right, after that, the concerto category. What have we got here? The winner is Shostakovich. I didn't hear this, I'm embarrassed to say.
Okay, so we've got the Shostakovich violin concertos with a lady we've listened to before, Alina Ibrahimova.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
The State Academic Symphony Orchestra of Russia. And this is on Hyperion.
Yeah, Evgeny Svetlanov is conducting the orchestra there. And Vladimir Jurovsky as well. Okay, on one of the other works.
Now, we heard her in episode 14 on the Paganini. And I like that a lot. Here, I guess I'm just not a big fan of these concertos. The performances are very strong, but the works are rather dense. And also, I felt that the recording itself has kind of a dark quality to it in the orchestra, but her tone is very abrasive to me.
Really?
Yeah.
She usually isn't. I'm kind of curious about this now.
Maybe it's called for in these works, and, violin concertos are not my favorite thing.
I think of her as having a really small, intimate tone, and these are big orchestral works. Maybe she's using a different tone here. I have to hear this now.
Just my impression. But certainly, I mean, the performances are very dynamic. So maybe that was the outstanding characteristic of these. The next one is and this is the winner. The other nomination, is Beethoven Triple Concerto. I
didn't hear this one either.
Harmonia Mundi. This is Isabel Faust, Freiburger Baroque Orchestra, with Jean-Guyen Chiares.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we should mention the Shostakovich is on Hyperion. I don't think I said that. Okay.
And Alexander
Melnikov, who Isabel Faust often records
plays
with
together.
him.
Yeah. This one, I thought the playing is really nice, especially the blend of the instruments. They sort of meld together really nicely. But the recording quality to me was a bit muffled. And so I felt like I wanted to change my seat in the recording venue, but I couldn't. But yeah, the music was really good, along with the blend of the instruments. So it was enjoyable. Then we have next one we've talked about way back in episode 5. Hilary
this
Hahn,
was great. Yeah.
On Deutsche Grammophon Paris. The name of the title. This has Chausson, Prokofiev, and Rotvara. Interesting program.
Yeah.
And I guess the common point being that all the works had their premiere performances in Paris.
Right.
Hence the title. And this is just beautiful playing.
This is Hilary Hahn, Radio France Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Miko Frank on the Deutsche Grammophon label, label of the year.
And this is one of my favorites in the list.
This was probably the one I like most in this of the ones I've heard in this category.
Next nomination was one we also discussed in episode 12, the Elgar Violin Concerto and Violin Sonata. Renaud
Capuçon, violin,
and Stephen Huff.
The Sonata, Stephen Huff plays the piano.
And London Symphony Orchestra, Sir Simon Rattle.
On the Erato label. Yeah.
Yeah, we liked these a lot, if I remember. And,
or Erato. You can pronounce it either way. I understand. She's one of the muses.
Yeah, we enjoyed this before. I listened to it a bit again, and I liked it again this time too.
Yeah, I didn't hear it again. Okay, but I did. I remember really liking this. I like Capuçon in general, him and his brother Gautier, who plays the cello. I generally like everything they do, and this was yet another winner for me. Mm-hmm. Okay, next, Martinu and Bartók. This is a really appealing program that I didn't hear. It's on SACD, though. It features the Bartók Solo Violin Sonata, Martinu's Violin Concertos, which I bet are really great, especially after hearing the orchestration in the Fidele album that we heard last week by Knedzhikova. I forgot her first name. Katarzyna Knedzhikova, right? She did a Martinu piece. Did you hear this?
I did, but I know the Bartók. I don't know the Martinu.
Right.
I read about it too, which the description said they're very fresh interpretations in Zimmermann's playing, but I didn't personally care for either one of the works. Okay. So
I tend to like him. Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah,
he's not like a favorite composer, but I tend to really be fascinated by his orchestration. I'm gonna have to hear this now.
Yeah, you should listen to it. You might like it more than I did. It just didn't really register with me much.
Maybe it'll take some listens. I don't know. All right, next, Poulenc on the Resonance label. Played by who played this? Mark Bebbington piano,
yes. And Royal Philharmonic.
Yeah, we also have John Roberts on the oboe and Jonathan Davies on the bassoon on some of the works. Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, Jan Latham König, conductor. Did you hear this? I didn't.
Yes. I thought the works, the orchestrations are really lush, and as well as the performances match that character. I really enjoyed the music and performance. The recording wasn't the clearest in the list for sonics, but nevertheless, it's Poulenc's music is kind of, relaxing and...
it's kind of cabaret-ish. It's sort of in a popular vein often.
It's easy to follow.
It can be dramatic, though.
But I thought it was lush. And
easy
good.
to follow is a good... Yeah, it's generally pretty easy to follow.
I enjoyed this recording. I guess my favorite in this list is probably the Hilary Hahn.
I like that one the best of the ones I heard.
My number 2 would be the Elgar. For my favorites.
Those are the two we talked about too.
Yeah.
So
So good. You chose them. So good selections.
Did I? Okay, that's right. Okay, so those were good choices.
Yep.
Not always the case with me. Anyway,
sell yourself short.
I wouldn't do that. Anyway, next we have the contemporary category. The winner is Jean Picard, or I wonder if it's Picard, like the Star Trek guy.
Make it so, number 1.
Yeah. Okay. This is the way they've labeled this is funny. The main piece on this is the Garden of Aleppo, but they've put Three Chicken Studies first, which is a really funny title.
Yeah.
In their list here. Daughters of Zion, which is a song, the Garden of Aleppo, and Ghost Train and the Fagotus of Afranio. And there's a work called Snowbound and a Serenata Concertata. Susan Bickley sings the Daughters of Zion, and the rest of the album is by the Nash Ensemble, conducted by Martin Brabins. It's on a Bis SACD. And let me see. I got all these windows open and I can't get to what I want. Okay, here we go. I heard this record all the way through, and I thought it was okay. He's a British composer, born in Burnley, in England, in 1963, so he's really our generation. This is a very generous 80-minute program. Starts with the Gardener of Aleppo. Aleppo has been in the news lately. And this is for flute, viola, and harp. And when I saw that, I was like, I thought of Debussy right away. He has a very famous sonata for flute, viola, and harp. Debussy's work is magical. And but this Picard work is far more downbeat. And understandably so. The viola is a pretty dark-toned instrument, and that's why Debussy wanted it in his work. But Picard really does draw out its darkness here. He uses the dark tones for the viola and the flute's ability to shriek in its highest register. It's a great advantage. The title of the work refers to a gardener featured on a UK Channel 4 news story in 2016. He and his son sold plants to residents while the city was being bombed during the Syrian civil war, and he was eventually killed by a bomb 6 weeks after the interview. The piece isn't bad. It's got a strong rhythm and profile. The harp acts like a percussion instrument for much of it. It's fairly dramatic, and it's listenable. I mean, when I said the shrieking tone of the flute, it comes across as dramatic as opposed to, say, something like that's going to really put you off. It was good. I thought it was okay. The next work, Daughters of Zion, for mezzo, soprano, and chamber orchestra. This one features Susan Bickley, mezzo soprano. The poem is by Gavin da Costa, who is a professor of Catholic theology at the University of Bristol. And the poem questions whether Mary, Jesus' mother, would have agreed again to Gabriel's annunciation, the angel Gabriel, were she to know the millennia of horrors that Jews would suffer as a result. So she's Jewish, right? The work starts with swooping strings and confused percussion. The soprano comes in and sings mostly in a disconnected monosyllabic style that I personally find very appealing. It sounds very 20th century to me. Bickley is very good in this. I didn't really like this much. I feel like the style of this work has seen its day. All right, Snowbound for bass clarinet, cello, and piano. Okay, so I'm all excited now. We have the bass clarinet, and any bass reed instrument I'm just going to love, right? And this work does explore the darker colors of all three instruments. There's a lot of bass rumbling in the piano, but the piece itself, I thought it was okay. I didn't dislike it, but it didn't do much for me. Okay, the next is the first multi-movement work on the album, Serenata Concertata. This is Philippa Davies on solo flute. I like her a lot. I've heard her on... She's on I don't know. Okay. She's on a lot of flute recordings that I really enjoy, so I was happy to hear this too. There's also a second offstage flute that's pre-recorded for this performance, and it's 5 movements, but it's played through without a pause. It starts with a cadenza. It's pretty quiet and spacious. Then there's an aria, labeled an aria. The piano enters. The mood really doesn't change much. Strings come in. The third movement is a scherzo. Features tremolo springs, played quietly and fleetingly. Another cadenza, crashing piano chord with flute forte in the high end. Then the flute goes into its shrieking range in this one. It quiets down towards the end. And the fifth movement, aria 2, features a buildup of chords. The flute plays a lonesome melody while gently accompanied by gentle piano chords and shimmering strings. Again, this piece, I thought it was just okay. It wasn't unappealing, but it didn't just grab my attention. Now, next, we have 3 chicken studies, and it turns out that the composer Picard kept chickens as pets for many years and was fascinated by their moods, so he wrote these 3 very short works for oboe solo. He tried to capture their activities. The first movement is called Laying. This wasn't very chicken-like to me. It had kind of a matter-of-fact quality to it. It's rather quiet. Feeding has a clucking rhythm that we would expect from chickens. They're pretty calm. Sounds like they're searching around for grain. And movement 3, Fighting. This is not as violent a movement as you would think. It features a lot of tremolo interspersed with a quick clucking rhythm, so the angry chicken, I guess. Okay, so by this point, I think this album is just okay. What made this a really good record to me are the last 2 tracks, which are older. Track 12 is the Fegatus of Afranio, composed in 1992. This is a capriccio. A fegatus was a musical instrument that was once mistakenly believed to have been an ancient forerunner of the bassoon, but it's not. It was invented by a crazy Italian named Franio degli Albonesi in the 16th century. It was part bagpipes and part chamber organ. So it's kind of like a one-man band type thing. You would carry it around and operate it via bellows under your arms. It was just this big monstrosity. So Picard in this work imagines the instrument having trouble getting started and running into trouble at various points. And so the piece kind of reflects that. It starts pretty spectacularly in the honking lower end of the bassoon, so you get that really nice reedy sound with the piano accompanying in that range. As it lurches forward, it often gets interrupted. I like the whole timbre of the bassoon all the way through in this piece, and it's a pretty cute piece. The last piece on this album is called Ghost Train. It's pretty recent, 2016. For flute, clarinet, violoncello, double bass, and piano. The flute and clarinet cover variations on their instruments as well. So you get bass clarinet, contrabass clarinet. Oh, spectacular. I love it. The piece has a perpetuum mobile rhythm because the Ghost Train of the title is derived from the... It refers to a roller coaster type fairground ride that ran through dark spaces, and occasionally you see this... horrific scene lit up as you sped by it. I've been on rides like this when I was a child. I don't know if they still exist. But the material in this is derived from the Dies Irae in the Mass for the Dead. I didn't actually catch that. I'm going to have to hear it again. Okay, but it starts out like with a train on the tracks rhythm, and occasional stabs from the rest of the ensemble. There's some pretty cool low reed timbres in this work. I like this, and it's beautifully recorded. This particular album, by the way, if you have a surround sound in your house, I wonder if any of our listeners do. It's a good way to hear it. It makes the sound is beautifully recorded. It's really rich, and the surround kind of makes it more spacious. Feeling surrounded by the sound helps the tone of the works to register more strongly. This is a really beautifully recorded album too. It's really clear. I can see why this disc won. I think the album itself, though, is rather a mixed bag musically, and I like the last 2 works the best. All right, so did you hear this, by the way?
Yeah, I listened to this. I thought it's kind of fun because
towards the end, I thought it was fun anyway.
Because it's the variety.
Right.
There's a lot of different types of compositions and different sounds, so I didn't get bored while I was listening to it. I didn't like or find everything particularly interesting, but I was always surprised at the next composition. Right. In that sense, I thought it was interesting and entertaining.
Okay, now the other two works that I heard are by, well, no, actually we heard three more of these, but two of the works, the contemporary composers on this have died in recent years. The first one, Louis Andriessen, Dutch composer, died in June, I believe, or July, earlier this year. So this will be, I think they give you 3 years after you die to be a contemporary composer in this category, and then they put you somewhere else if your music keeps getting recorded. The Andriessen album is called The Only One, and it's a 21-minute piece, and that's all that's on the album. That's all you get. It features Nora Fisher as the soprano. She's a jazz singer, I believe, and she's singing with the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Esa-Pekka Salonen. This is on the Nonsuch label. This let's see, it's composed for female jazz singer and large ensemble. It was composed for Nora Fisher, and she premiered the work at the Proms in London in 2019. So if you were there, good for you. The recording was made before that performance, so before the premiere, in May 2 to 5th, 2019. This was released when the composer was still alive in March of this year. The texts are from 5 short poems from a Dutch set of poetry that translates into English as The Animals in Me. That really intrigued me. By a Flemish poet, Delphine Lecomte. Okay, from the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. So the poems are all in Dutch, I think. I don't remember now. The texts have all been... they're in English. The texts have been translated into English by the poet, with additions from Andriessen's wife. Wow. The American and Dutch violinist Monica Germino. The texts are sung in English, okay, but the original poems are in Dutch. I liked this, actually. I thought it was pretty... Andriessen has a kind of rock and roll quality to his music. This has a reduced orchestra, and he adds bass and guitar to it to get his characteristic sound. He's one of those composers who combine highbrow and lowbrow music to break down divisions. And in his case, it often works really well. I've liked a lot of his music, and I liked this a lot. I could go through the movements, but I think... I'll just say that it's all in a familiar idiom, so it's really easy on the ear, especially if you like things that are sort of loud and aggressive. It's not off-puttingly aggressive, though. It's kind of more like rock and roll aggressive. It jumbles up so many popular idioms that it's hard to describe what this sounds like. You really need to hear it. I'd say it's postmodern minimalist, meaning jumbles of styles held together by repeating rhythms. Don't think of postmodern as the way politics is going today. I mean it by mixing styles together as though they're all kind of in the same soup. This is worth a listen. The neurotic poems intrigued me too, because I was born in New York. And and the singer's unique voice too. She's kind of a jazz singer singing sort of like, there's a jazz quality to her voice, but she's singing like she's a classical singer. It's really unusual. I'd give this a listen, everybody. I liked it a lot.
I'm going to be the contrarian here. I couldn't stand this one. It's my least favorite of all the nominations.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't hear them all, but I like his music in general, though, kind of. Okay, I liked it.
Might like something else, but not this one for me.
Okay, Finnissy, Pious Anthems and Voluntaries. Didn't hear this one. Did you hear this?
Yes, I did. And I was surprised by this one because, I'm not a big fan of choral works, but I was drawn into this one. And I found it interesting, and I had so much to listen to on these things, and I was listening specifically. But when I put this on, I kind of zoned out, and I found it really calming. And I enjoyed it. Yeah. So
Finnissy's music usually isn't like that. Oh man, now I have to hear this. Yeah. This is, by the way, this is on the Signum label.
Signum, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the choir of St. John's College, Cambridge. A lot of people on this. Andrew Nethinga with Sarah O'Flynn on flute, Cecily Ward violin, Glenn Dempsey, James Anderson Bassant on the organ, and that's it. Next one, Limb, Extinction Events and Dawn Chorus, Axis Mundi, Songs Found in Dream. This is performed by Sophie. We're really messing this up, or at least I am. Sophie Schaffleitner on violin. Lorelei Dowling, I may have mistyped that, on bassoon. Klang from Wien, and Stefan Asbury and Peter Rundel on the Kairos label. Did you hear this?
Yeah.
What did you think? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. I would just say, if you like kind of very contemporary atonal kind of music, there are some interesting brass parts here. So I thought the brass players were having fun, but just not the type of work that I'm usually interested in. I listened to a little bit of each one, and
okay,
not for me.
Right. Works that we're both definitely interested in are by Christopher Rouse. This was Symphony No. 5 and Concerto for Orchestra. Now, we discussed this as part of the Grammy Awards podcasts earlier in the year, and we both heard this album and really liked it.
Yeah, this is episode 4, and
right.
This one's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Rouse, of course, died, I believe, last, or maybe it was 2019. But he recently died as well. This is a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, because it's like it interweaves elements from Beethoven's symphony into his. So, and it's got kind of some interesting change-ups in it, where this kind of slow movement begins. It's got some nice woodwinds and some bombastic timpani in there. All the things you want from Rouse. Actually, it's a little bit prettier than some of his things, maybe for the Beethoven influence, but it still has that nice percussion and other exciting things.
The Concerto for Orchestra was really great too. I really liked that from him too. He tends to up the volume quite a bit, which I really enjoy about his music. Mm-hmm. He's got a big rock and roll influence. The last one in this category, I don't really know why this is even in this category, because it's I've lost my place here. Okay, is Plaisir Illuminé, and we actually talked about this because it's
this is all the way back to episode 2.
Yeah, wow, because Patricia Kopachinskaya plays on it, and I like her a lot, as does Sol Gabetta on the cello. I think we're going to hear more from them pretty soon. They've got a new duo album coming out. Now, this one, I was really intrigued because of works by Ginastera and Bartók. I thought this would be great, and it was good for a lot of it. There's a work, the reason why this is in this category is because of the work by Francisco Cole, who we both decided we don't like much as far as compositions go. I was kind of and I noticed that so the La Lula lead was unbearable, I thought, and Le Plaisir Illuminé, which is where the album gets its title, was a little better, but kind of, I thought, in a kind of 20th century sort of I don't know that it was atonal language, really pointy, angular sort of type things. I was kind of like, I felt like it was played out. I did enjoy the Ginastera. George Kurtak is still alive. We had a few movements from that. Signs, Games, and Messages. But all in all, we really thought this was just okay. We didn't really like this wasn't a big choice for us.
Not one of my favorite ones. No,
not one of my favorite ones either.
So in this category, I would have to say,
well, we wanted Rouse. I think in this category, we liked that the best.
And then I guess maybe I was surprised by the Finisci.
Right.
Although, I mean, it's probably the most different character among these contemporary pieces, and I thought the Picard was somewhat interesting. The rest of them, the
Picard was beautifully recorded too, and I think that always helps.
Yeah.
Next, early music. I hadn't heard any of these until they announced the winner, so I went and heard the Josquin. Now, earlier in the year, I had a choice between. We wanted to talk about Josquin because I believe it's the 400th anniversary. Is it 400 or is it probably 500 now? Anniversary of his death this year, and so we wanted to put a Josquin one on. So we chose the one with Il Grillo on it, the one by I can't remember the group's name now. The one on Decca that won the Spatial Audio Award, and it was a good recording. This one is by the Tallis Scholars, the winner of the early music category on the Gimel label. Tallis Scholars, conducted by Peter Phillips, and this is the end of their series of Josquin masses. They've recorded all of the Josquin masses, and they started that project back in the 1980s, and I remember those recordings. I think I still have some of them. I should go back to them. So I thought I kind of knew what to expect when I heard this record. So I didn't program the things. I was like, I know what they're going to sound like. But boy, what a surprise this was. This is an absolutely fantastic recording. Gorgeous, clear. There are a lot of tracks on it. There are 47 tracks in all because they've pretty much divided up all the lines of the various masses into like their own tracks. So each mass gets like 16 tracks or something like that. The amazing thing about this, and this is very different from the earlier recordings, one of the big criticisms of Josquin's music, he was the premier composer of his day. But the church complained about his music because you couldn't understand the text because the counterpoint was so dense, and they really wanted the church said that, well, the words are the most important part because they're praising God, right? And but Josquin and his contemporaries kind of obscured the words with their counterpoint. They made the music number one. Now, but in this recording, the individual voices are clearly heard, and you hear all the words, and there are some beautiful stereo effects with voices in the same register entering in the left and right speakers. It's really great, making the entry of the voices easier to follow. So the ensemble is set up across the sound stage so that you can clearly hear each voice's entry. Once the textures get complicated, maybe you can't follow it as easily. But I really appreciated that. It really made the recording exciting. It doesn't sound like a very large ensemble. The space sounds intimate, not dry at all, but hardly discernible room echo, which I like. The sound they make has always sounded sculpted, but the precision and level of dynamics has become more precise still in this recording. This is a sumptuous listen. I highly, highly recommend hearing this, and I kind of wish they'd record all the Josquin masses again, so that they'd all sound like this. It's a great achievement as far as recording goes. I'd highly recommend that you hear this. I can't talk about the rest of these recordings. I haven't heard any of the other ones in this category, but let's go through them. The first is Gesualdo, Madrigals Book 3. That's by Les Arts Florissants, conducted by Paul Agnew on the Harmonia Mundi label. Guillaume de Machaut, this is before the Renaissance era, The Lion of Nobility on the Hyperion label, performed by the Orlando Consort. The next one is Monteverdi, Madrigals Book 3 by Concerto Italiano. Ronaldo Alessandrini is the director on the Naive label. And the last one is the Swedish... Oh, sorry, there are two more. Auke Game, Johannes Auke Game, Les Chansons, performed by Musique de Wallonie. And... performed by Cut Circle, conducted by Jesse Rodin, and Musique de Wallonie is the label name. It's really unusual. And the last in this category is the Swedish songs, music from the Baldwin part books on Signum, and Contrapunctus, conducted by Owen Rees. All right, early music category. Definitely hear that Josquin recording. I don't know. I'll have to listen to the other ones and find out.
I sampled these, actually. I did listen to the Josquin, which I really liked. And among vocal music, I guess early music is my favorite if I'm in the mood for it. I like the tranquility
I always like it too.
Of it, and just the plainness of the voice. The Josquin is definitely puts you in a tranquil mood. And some of the other ones sound intriguing too. And it was just for want of time that I didn't check some more of them out. But I think
I guess I should have just sampled them because I was listening to entire albums. Right. I wanted to get the whole profile down.
I think all of these will be enjoyable.
I'm sure they would. All right, now we're getting into the stuff I really like. Instrumental category.
Yeah, this is like a Bach fest here.
Yeah, 4 Bach albums on this one. All right. So the first one is, now we should explain. The instrumental category is a solo instrument, but not the piano. The piano gets its own category this year, so they've changed that. All right. The winner of this category is the Lute Suite. Lute Suites performed by Sean Sheba on guitar on the Delphian label. This is his last recording on the Delphian label. He is now on pentatone. And Adult Music will be talking about his new recording in coming weeks. But for now, let's talk about this one. Do you have anything to say about this? Really beautiful playing.
Yeah, it's great playing.
Wow. Clear. He's got a really sensitive tone.
What I mean, maybe it's not apparent from this Bach recording, but in his total musical approach is very unpretentious and relaxed. He plays a lot of different kinds of guitars, electric guitar too, and there's no stuffiness or aloofness in his approach to music. But that said, these Bach performances are really wonderful, and the sound quality is great too. And then in the context of his larger, style of playing, it seems like he can do no wrong so far with the recordings he has done.
Yeah, he's quite a phenomenon. Really great player. And his new recording, well, we'll let you know about that soon. All right.
Definitely hear this, though, if you're a Bach fan or a classical guitar fan, and you haven't heard his playing yet, you've got to check it out.
Right, Sean Sheepe. Listen to him. All right, the other contestants were 6 solo cello suites by Bach, played by Alyssa Weilerstein. I heard this. I thought it was interesting. Her approach, her interpretation of these works are really aggressive. They're sort of the exact opposite of what I like in them, which would be the who's the Pierre Fournier, the old the French cellist from the I guess the 60s that was made. So he's more urbane in his playing. And she really takes a really aggressive approach to these that kind of wore on me. I didn't really like hearing it. I like this cellist a lot. I have a lot of other recordings by her, but I thought this was, it was an original approach, I thought it was worth hearing. But I don't know how many times I'm going to go back to this. This is on the pentatone label, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know how many more recordings we need of these works. Because
every cellist is going to want to play them, though. That's the thing.
But what I liked about her playing, I was focusing on her tone.
Right.
And I thought her general tone is very rich, which I liked. But I also noticed that she could vary that tone depending on, the expression and the part of the work. So I liked her overall tone, and then I appreciated how she could vary that with what was called for, or how she was interpreting the works, and that's what I noticed about her approach to them.
Yeah, she's a great player. I do like her a lot. I thought this was it wasn't my thing, really, when it comes to the Bach cello suites. All right, next came Bach, the Well-Tempered Clavier, Book 1. And I loved this. This is Trevor Pinnock on harpsichord. I like everything he does. This is on the Deutsche Grammophon label. Label of the year. Whenever Pinnock plays Bach, I just have to drop everything and hear that. And this was really great. The only thing about it is it's the Well-Tempered Clavier. It's a prelude and fugue in all of the keys. And it gets a little pedantic for me. You get to hear them all at the same time. However, Pinnock makes them interesting. It's just hearing them all that kind of gets to me. I hope he does a book too. Anyway, he's fantastic. I would listen to anything he does of Bach.
Yeah, and I like it's very rich sounding harpsichord here.
Right.
It's
he characterizes
it's
Bach well.
Yeah,
really good.
It's a very fulfilling tonal experience listening to these, other than the great technique. But
yeah, I would say this would be my second place choice to win this category if Shibe wasn't in it, because that was really a standout recording. All right, next came Bach again, along with George Kurtach, Solo 2. This is the follow-up to Tabea Zimmerman's recording Solo that came out 10 years ago. This is the follow-up to that. The original one, the Solo, was on an SACD, and this one is not, which I find very odd, on the Mirios label. It has some of the Bach solo cello suites played on the viola, and then movements from Kurtach's Signs, Games, and Messages. I haven't heard this one, I'm afraid.
Well, I was excited because you never get to hear enough viola.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did like the Bach, but again, this is another, I guess this is what I was saying before. Kurtag and Bach, I can't listen to like back to back
on the same album.
Yeah, I need to have something else in between, like I don't know, a run around the park or something like that. So,
right.
Just the programming combination wasn't ideal for me.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, especially with 20th and 21st century people like ourselves, we often like to think back to the past. I think it's because we see a lot of movies and we think, oh, these people were just like us. And they weren't. They were nothing like us. They're really different. Yeah. Sometimes we connect with them as far as the emotion they put across, but they lived in a completely different society with completely different rules and a completely different understanding of how life was to be lived. And unless there's they tap into some universal quality of the human heart, we're just really not going to identify much with them. I think we adapt their stories to our times.
That's possible.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know. Next is, I didn't hear this either, Dowland, John Dowland, A Fancy. This is by who's on this? Bor Zuljan on the lute, on the Reacher Carr label.
I like
to hear this.
Yeah,
I bet I would like it too. I just never got around to it.
I mean,
I feel like there should be more lute.
Yeah,
in the world.
I enjoyed the performances. There's a lot of space here, and the instrument sounds good. Dowland's music is kind of interesting, I don't know. I sometimes I get in a lute mood, either like right when I wake up in the morning or like very late at night, if I'm not, if I don't have enough sort of mental energy left for jazz or something. It's an instrument that's very easy to focus on and always sounds lovely. And so if you like that lute tone, these Dowland pieces are interesting, and his playing is very nice as well. So I enjoyed this one.
Can you imagine what it must have been like to woo your mistress with your lute back in the day? Let me play a tune for you.
I put this on. My wife just said, "I'm going to bed," so it didn't work. Maybe I need my own lute.
Yeah, but when you had to take out that big lute, maybe that's what impressed them, that you had this thing with 1 million strings on it.
Yeah,
that you could actually play.
I think the biggest in my collection is only got 12 strings on it, and it always needs to be 12-string guitars always need to have the strings replaced in it. I have a slot head one, and it takes forever to get it, the strings changed, and I don't play it enough. The humid climate here,
right?
The next time I take it out, it needs new strings, and if I had a lute, it would be even worse with all those strings. I remember hearing
a clarinet, a concert by a clarinetist here, and it was 40 minutes late because he wasn't satisfied with the quality that he could get out of the instrument because of the humidity. It was kind of affecting the reed somehow.
Yeah, it affects everything. It probably affected the audience too.
Yeah, well, probably. It was a good concert in the end, though.
Oh, okay.
Can you imagine keeping a lute in tune? Boy, I couldn't even imagine.
Gotta be tough, yeah.
I bet there aren't many lute concerts in Japan.
I haven't seen any, yeah.
Well, not here. All right, last in this group, Handel Suites, harpsichord suites by Pierre Hantai, who's an excellent player. Unfortunately, I didn't hear this one either. I feel bad now. I should have just gone through and sampled them all instead of just trying to hear the entire thing. This is on the Mirare label.
I thought these were nice performances, very enthusiastic, the real energy of the Handel compositions. The recording itself was a bit echoey to me compared to listening to the other harpsichord and whatnot. So that got in the way of my enjoyment a little bit, but the playing was fabulous. So
okay, next we get to the piano category. The winner is Johann Sebastian Bach, Well-Tempered Clavier, Book 2, Selections, not the whole thing. Probably a good idea. Piotr Andrzejewski was the pianist, and this is on Warner Classics.
And we talked about this in episode 5.
Yes, we did, and we liked it a lot. Okay, it was also easier to listen to simply because the way he programmed it, it wasn't like
he changed the order for the mood, which was interesting. It wasn't sort of textbook like, but he was taking you on a little programmatic journey that he decided on, which was interesting because you've probably never heard them in that order before. So.
Right, and it made them stand out a bit more too, because they'll tend to you kind of tend to know what's coming next when they're played all in the right order. Also, he's just such a fantastic pianist.
Oh, great,
he gets just the terracing of the various lines. It's just beautiful. His whole pacing, really great recording, and a good choice for winner. Although there were some other really good recordings in this category too. Next was, I heard this one. Chopin, Debussy, and Mussorgsky. Chopin Preludes, Debussy Children's Corner, and Mussorgsky Pictures at an Exhibition by Behzod Abduraimov. I believe I don't want to say it, I don't want to get it wrong. He's like Armenian or something like that. I can't remember. But it's on the Alpha label. I heard this way back when it came out in January and February. And, I thought it. I don't really have anything to say, but I thought it was really good. I remember enjoying it a lot. Pictures at an Exhibition for me really stood out because I'm always interested in hearing how the Great Gate of Kiev is going to come out on the piano because it needs a gigantic, sound, and the orchestra can easily build that. But he achieves that quite well here. Nicely articulated performance. And the other two, the Chopin and the Debussy, they're quieter works. Some of the Chopin get a bit loud, but a nice sensitivity of tone. I like this a lot. I thought it was kind of an interesting. I think this is his debut album. I thought it was pretty interesting.
He is actually Uzbek born.
Uzbek, sorry, I messed it up. My apologies to all the Uzbeki people.
I liked the sort of coloring he got on these performances.
Yeah,
that came out to me. So I enjoyed that. I thought the recording, although it does have good dynamics and, in the more dynamic parts, I thought in general some of the recording was rather quiet, and I was I found myself turning it up a lot to listen to the detail in it. So I noted that down.
Especially in Children's Corner, like The Snow is Dancing, works like that. Yeah. All right, next list. We talked about this one on the podcast as well.
Episode 13, yes.
Oh, you actually looked all these up. Wow.
I did.
Okay, this is Benjamin Grosvenor. Liszt Piano Sonata was the main work on this. And then there are some other Liszt works. And his arrangement of Ave Maria by Schubert as well. We were amazed at the precision of the piano playing on this album. It was a beautifully recorded record. It was really the whole. Yeah. I think the precision.
You're almost in the piano on this recording.
Right.
There's not much hall sound or anything, so you can hear everything and soak it right up. Yeah.
Right. The next one, Liszt Thalberg, Opera Transcriptions and Fantasies by Marc-André Hamelin on the Hyperion label. We should mention the Grosvenor was on Decca, by the way. And I think Abduraimov is on Alpha. All right, now this one, and Andrzejewski's on Warner Classics. We didn't say. You got to remember those. All right, this recording, Marc-André Hamelin, Hyperion label, Liszt Thalberg. He's trying to recreate on this, and Marc-André Hamelin is one of those super virtuosos who could play anything with seemingly no effort. He's trying to recreate one of those salons where Liszt and Thalberg competed with each other to see who was the greater pianist, and Hamelin's probably better than both of them. Really. Well, but he's standing on the shoulders of giants, of course, because they all developed the technique that is now being taught. Again, these are opera transcriptions. I didn't really like the music much, but the playing, well, because it's really showy for showiness' sake. But the playing on this album is absolutely astonishing. If you want to hear some amazing piano ability, give this a listen. It's really something.
Yeah, it's amazing technique.
Yeah. But again, these are works. I mean, they're enjoyable enough, but I don't know. I just kind of get put off by, the whole excess of them, I think. All right. But man, Amlan is really some kind of player. This could have won the award, I think, just for sheer virtuosity. It was really amazing. All right, next, an album that we both really loved, I seem to recall, the Beethoven Connection. We did not talk about this on the podcast. It came out in 2020, but this is by a pianist we really like, Jean-F. Lambavouze, and it's works by Beethoven's contemporaries, and they're all really good, by Muzio Clementi, Dušek, whose Mass we talked about earlier. He won the choral category. Johann Hummel and Würfel. I don't know his first name. These are all just piano works by them, and they're all just fantastic. Beautifully played by Bavouze.
Yeah, that really nice light touch that he has. They just sound so smooth and beautiful. All the works are appealing. This will expand your understanding of the era. So it's not all just Beethoven, although Beethoven really commanded the attention then.
And this is on Chandos.
This is on the Chandos label.
Yes.
Okay. And another one we talked about on the podcast, French Duets by Paul Lewis and Stephen Osborne on the piano.
Yeah.
On the Hyperion label.
This is episode 6.
Wow, a long time ago. Yeah, we love this. It's just beautiful playing. They sort of do sound like they've mind melded on this record and just
sounds like one person with lots of arms.
Yeah, they seem to get the same. Well, I think they're both playing the same piano. Actually, they're just four hands.
But the touch and articulation is so integrated.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, really love this. You can listen to that to find out. Okay, opera category we already did. On to orchestral. All right, the winner of this category was Franz Schmid, Complete Symphonies, and the Notre Dame Intermezzo, played by the Frankfurt Radio Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Paavo Järvi. I heard these all the way through, in fact. I found them to be... These works are going to take... This is going to take a few listens to really get into. They're sort of Mahlerian, but they're a lot more densely... packed with sound. There's not you don't get the space that you get in a Mahler symphony. They are very long, but I think they're all not very long. They're all 40 minutes, I think, these works. But there's a lot of activity happening in them. There's a kind of turgidness to the works that's really characteristic of the late Romanticism. It's you can hear that it's sort of on its way out. But good invention. This kind of overripeness of sound. It really captures the Vienna of the time, I think. They're really hard to describe, but it's sort of... Anyway, do you have anything else to add to that? I don't know.
I think, if you like these Romantic era symphonies and you haven't heard Schmidt, then you'll like them. What do I have? I have a recording.
Well, if you like Mahler, you'll probably like this as well.
Yeah, I think
they're
I have
different, but they're not... The sound world is sort of the same.
I have the fourth on an EMI disc by a London Philharmonic that I'm most familiar with. Like I say, it'll take a few listenings to get the character of that. The performance here is really good and well played. It would be a good introduction to Schmidt. I'm surprised that it won the category.
I am too, and I'll tell you which one I thought should have won anyway.
Yeah, but enjoyable and. I like Schmidt, so.
Yeah, I like it too. This was good. I'm going to have to hear this several more times to really properly assess it. All right, the others in the category. Ives, Complete Symphonies. We heard this for the Grammy Awards.
Episode 4, yes.
Yeah, podcast. Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra, Gustavo Dudamel. We said that these started out romantically and got more complicated as they went until we get to the Ends of the Universe Storming Fourth Symphony, which has, I believe, 2 orchestras. I didn't give this a re-listen, but I do remember being happy that it was there. It's in good sound.
Less strings.
This is on Deutsche Gramophone too.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can see why they won their label of the year. Next, Carl Nielsen, Symphonies 1 and 2, by the Seattle Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Thomas Dausgaard. I remember hearing the third and fourth by him and really wanting to hear these, and they are up to par with those performances. They're really good. Everything's beautifully judged. I think he gets this quite well. If you like Nielsen's music, definitely have to hear this.
Yeah, this is on their own label to Seattle Symphony Media. Both discs are really good. I still think that Blomstedt and San Francisco is my favorite reference.
Yeah, those are my favorites.
But there's not a lot to compare them to. These haven't been recorded enough. So, right. I mean, anyone who records them, I want to just hear a different interpretation. And I thought, these, although I still like the Blomstedt recordings best, these are really good too. And I'd like to hear them again, just a little different interpretation. I never get tired of listening to all of these. So.
I like the Nielsen symphonies a lot. In fact, if you don't know them, we highly, highly recommend them. If you like Beethoven at all, I actually find these more exciting than Beethoven symphonies, simply because we've heard the Beethoven symphonies so many times, and these sound kind of fresh because we don't hear them enough.
And if you like Sibelius also, and then you're going to like Nielsen. Everything's there. And they're, I don't want to say they're unusual, but I think his composition style is quite different in a lot of the techniques and composition techniques that he uses. So they're always something fresh, and all of them are quite different in character. So like a few times I've gone through, he's got 6 altogether, aren't there, Nielsen?
Yeah, there's 6 symphonies.
Yeah. Sometimes I take a week and listen to, the whole series. And I really like the different characters of each one.
All right. Once he gets to his 4th symphony, too, he's starting to, as the sort of symphonic narrative goes, he'll start in one key, and that'll be the key the symphony is cast in. But he'll end by the 4th movement in a completely different key. So it's sort of a progressive tonality. So that accounts for some of the, unusualness of the sound.
Yeah.
That approach wasn't used very often. But I find it very liberating and sort of uplifting to hear, because you can kind of go to this sort of new place that you didn't know you were going. Yeah. Although he kind of sort of signals where he wants it to go with certain elements in that key. He'll put like very appealing material in that key, and you're like, oh, I want to hear more of that. And by the end, you're in that key, and you're just feeling great.
And nice
not on this
brass
particular
parts
album,
too.
though.
Yeah,
nice brass parts as well, and also, not much percussion on these particular works, but later on, he gets into the percussion.
Which one has
as well.
that improvised?
That's the 4th, I think.
The 4th, is it? The drum part, yeah.
Okay, next, Respighi, Festa Romana, Fontana di Roma, Pini di Roma, The Pines of Rome, The Fountains of Rome, and Roman Festivals. Symphonia of London, conducted by John Wilson on a Chandos SACD. This is the recording I thought should have won the category. It's spectacularly recorded.
This is huge sounds from this.
This is fantastic.
This
and it's an SACD, so if you have surround, like now it's going to open up into your whole living room. Not only that, but some of the effects, like for example, I think it was in Festa Romana, the second movement involves a pilgrimage to Rome. And at one point, the pilgrims arrive at this place and they see their destination through the trees, and the church bells start ringing, and you kind of hear the church bells on like the left side. It's like a really cool effect in surround. It's and I often wonder if it's performed like that. I haven't heard these live in a long time. Anyway, this is a must hear, I would say. Okay, next, Vaughan Williams, Symphony No. 5. Okay, and also scenes adapted from Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, which features material that he used in the 5th Symphony. This is by Martin Brabins, BBC Symphony Chorus and Orchestra, and there are soloists on it too. This is a gentle symphony, beautifully recorded here on the Hyperion label. I heard this when it came out back in 2020. Didn't give it a re-listen, but I remember liking it, and thinking it was a really nice addition to the catalog of Vaughan Williams symphony recordings. It's really beautifully recorded and performed.
Yeah, it's this approachable music, well performed, and the recording's great. I guess it just doesn't stand out and grab your attention as much as some of these others do, especially the Respighi. I mean, after you listen to that, you'll need to take a break because it's like, so dynamic. But I like Williams's music, and this is a nice symphony recording. So I guess I'm not surprised it didn't win, but it's good to be included in the nominations here.
Okay. And finally, we have English music for strings. This is by John Wilson. He had 2 albums in the in this category. Chandos SACD. I didn't hear this, and so I can't really comment on it.
I listened to this. It's nice. It's a very good recording, and the performances are good. But in this category, it's music for strings, which means there's no brass. So right. I couldn't get that excited about it, even though the music was enjoyable and the recording is and performances are good. So I liked it, but no way I could pick it when there's
right.
the Respighi and the Nielsen in there too. So
right. Okay, the Respighi we felt like should have won. Okay, on to voice and ensemble. And this one, the winner was a recording that we both talked about. And a worthy winner it was, but I thought another recording should have won this category, and I'll explain in a minute. The winner is Verdi, Verdi Arias by Ludovic Tezier and the Orchestra of the Teatro Comunale Bologna, conducted by Frederic Chaslin on the Sony Classical label. We talked about this one too on the program.
Yeah, even I liked this one.
Yeah, we enjoyed the rich baritone voice of Ludovic Tezier. It was a very appealing low voice, and I think he's got like a duet album coming out with Jonas Kaufmann either soon or it's already out. I'll have to check that.
Yeah, I have to put this one on in between all those soprano recordings you're always picking. And
I got you. There's another one that you need to hear.
My eyebrows get on in a knot from those high notes, and then I got all relaxed by his huge voice.
He's got this nice huge voice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Which of these have I heard? Okay, Berg, Strauss, and Zemlinsky, Clair, Obscur. I think we talked about this one too. This is a Sandrine Piot. And
I think we did talk about this one.
Yeah, Jean-François Verdier on the Alpha label. Clair Obscur is the name of the album, and it features music by Berg, Strauss. She does that wonderful tune, Morgan, and the Vier letzte Lieder on this. We like her voice. I thought this was kind of a lighter voice for the Strauss songs. So really this year we heard Lisa Davidson in like lighter music, and then we heard Sandrine Piot in this kind of heavier music, and they should have kind of reversed repertoire, I thought. But we like this record. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, this is episode 7, by the way. And really lovely melodies on here.
Right.
In this one.
Okay. But I think I seem to recall her voice. It's a darker voice for a soprano, but I didn't feel like it was powerful enough to carry Vier letzte Lieder by Strauss and Morgan, these wonderful songs. I liked her better in the Berg and Zemlinsky. Well, she was good in those too. I mean, I liked them, but they were good performances. Next comes Mahler, Das Lied von der Erde. There have been a lot of recordings of this recently, and we're going to talk about a newer one coming up soon on the podcast. This one is by Dame Sarah Connolly, mezzo-soprano, Robert Dean Smith, tenor, Berlin Radio Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Vladimir Jurovsky. Now, he's really big now, Jurovsky. I've really been enjoying a lot of his recordings, and this one as well. I thought this was really well conducted. I think the star of this performance is the orchestra, even though you have 2 soloists who are singing all the way through. Connolly, Hey, she's good. She's not really terribly idiomatic, though, and I think that hurts in a performance of Mahler. You really want someone who gets the idiom. Mahler's music is very idiomatic. It's very kind of Bohemian Austrian, sort of that era. I guess Habsburg, you can call it. It has this kind of quality of a time that doesn't exist anymore. But the singing is good all the way through. I don't want to damn the soloists, but they weren't quite in the idiom, I thought. The singing was very good, though. All right, now the album I thought should have won this category is Rossini, Amici e Rivali. This is by two tenors, Michael Spires and Lawrence Brownlee. This is on the Erato, I guess I should say, Erato label. This features all arias from Rossini's operas, and they're sort of the two tenors are often pitted against each other. It was a very exciting performance and very enjoyable. I recommend everybody hear this. I thought this was going to easily win, but it went to Tezier, who I suppose is deserving. I like that voice a lot. Okay. Did you hear this one?
No, I didn't. I didn't check out these.
You should check that out. It's good. Next, Lise Davidson. We talked about this on the podcast as well.
Yeah,
spectacular soprano voice. Yeah, episode 9. Really?
Yes.
That was a long time ago. Wow. This is on the Decca label. She's accompanied by the London Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Sir Mark Elder. This features works by Verdi, Mascagni, Cherubini, and also Beethoven, an aria from Fidelio, which she also is featured on a recording of the full opera that came out this year. I thought that her voice was too big for the Italian works. Okay, she doesn't really have like tenors have the spinto quality, but she didn't have like the kind of quality of the voice that's really necessary for these, like a lyrical sort of sound. She really sounds like she's got a lot of power, and I feel like that had to be sort of tamed a bit for those. She's excellent in the Wesendonck-Lieder by Wagner, which sound like they were written for her, and would like to hear her in Wagner operas. I think she's in her late 30s, so Wagner recordings are coming up, I think, in the next decade. Check those out. Okay. Anything else there? I got one more. Anima Rara by who sings this? This is Ermonella Yaho, soprano, Orchestra della Comunitat Valenciana, conducted by Andrea Battistoni. I heard this one quite a while back. This is Anima Rara, a homage to Rosina Storchio, an Italian soprano who inspired a lot of these works and sang at the premieres. This was a really good performance. I enjoyed this a lot. I thought her voice fit this music well. That's all I really have to say about it, though. All right, next, the other category that had a lot of competition, I felt, is the song category. This is also the last category that we'll be talking about today. We're finally at the finish line. Okay, the winner in this category went to El Noor by the young Egyptian soprano Fatma Said. And I thought this was fantastic all the way through. It's sort of a calling card type of album with her singing. First of all, she sings. She's accompanied by Malcolm Martineau on the piano, and a very sensitive accompanist he is. They play Scheherazade by Ravel, a work that I really prefer in the orchestra version, but I had no problem listening to this. Martineau's piano playing was really expressive and set a good mood. And she sang this really beautifully, I thought, with all the kind of, sort of wonder that in the voice that was necessary for these works. And also the sort of smoky eroticism required for the last two pieces in that. She also goes through a lot of, she sings some Spanish songs, and they're by Falla, by Serrano. It reminds us of the time when Islam was present in Spain, and how closely connected Spain from that period is, and the guitar is connected to the Muslim culture of North Africa of the time. And she's just a natural in these songs. She gets a really authentic Spanish sound out of them. And it doesn't sound like something put on either. It's sort of, it really feels like almost she's singing them as pop songs, like they're just kind of coming out of her. Really fantastic. And of course, there are also some Arabic songs on here too that we have never heard before. Some of them were pop, and I think one of them was an art song. And she just fits into that idiom beautifully as well. This is an absolutely fantastic album, and it's a promise for wonderful things to come from this young soprano. I really enjoyed hearing this, and I want to hear more of her.
I listened to the Ravel to compare with last week's episode, so
right.
I know part of it, and I enjoyed her performance more than the one we talked about. So
right, yeah. Oh, and there's another Ravel Scheherazade recording in this list too, which I'll get to in a moment. The first one is Jake. The other contestants, should I say, in this category are Jake Heggie's Unexpected Shadows, which I did not hear. This is Jamie Barton, mezzo-soprano, and Jake Heggie himself playing the piano. He's an American composer. This is on the Pentatone label. I should have heard this by now. Okay, number 2, And Love Said by Jody DeVos. Soprano, Nicholas Kruger, piano. Jody DeVos. Okay.
This
on
was,
the Alpha label.
Episode 6, we talked about this. Yeah.
Episode 6. Now, I wanted to do that one back in episode 6 because I was familiar with her Offenbach recording, which featured this wonderful stratospheric singing and almost acrobatic use of the voice. We don't hear that on this album. These are all English songs, and she doesn't really have to display this amazing technique to sing these songs. She sounds idiomatic despite being, I believe she's French. She's either French or Belgian. I can see people get mad when you get their nationality wrong. I should look. There are just too many of these. I would do it on the regular podcast. I would get it right. All right, and she sings these fairly idiomatically. She studied in England, and she gets the style of the English songs very well. And she also sings a Queen song on this, I seem to recall. You Take My Breath Away by Freddie Mercury. Okay, so we liked this, but it was a little bit of a come down from the Offenbach. All right, next. Oh boy, I have to recommend this highly. Arion, Voyage of a Slavic Soul by the soprano Natalia. I don't know how to say this name. Roman. It's spelled Romaniw. Romani, I guess. Lada Velikova, piano. Romaniw is Welsh, but her origin, I think her grandfather is from the Ukraine, so she has like Slavic roots. But she also has that sort of Welsh quality to her voice. There's something magical in the water there in Wales. They produce amazing baritones. Romaniw is a soprano, but she's got this almost dark sort of bottom to her voice. So you hear these soprano tones, and it's almost like if you could draw it as a circle, it would be white on top and then sort of black on the bottom, and it would just shade as it goes down. It's a pretty unique sound, and she doesn't sound like a typical soprano, yet she could hit all those high notes. This is a very unique voice, and I think this needs to be heard by anyone who likes good singing. She's another young artist, and I think she was the Artist of the Year for Gramophone last year, or Young Artist of the Year for Gramophone last year. And this album shows a lot of promise. She's really something. Please hear this if you like singing. This is a unique voice. Okay, next. Chanson d'amour by Sabine Devielle, soprano. She's a French soprano, and she's accompanied by the piano soloist Alexandre Tharaud, also a French pianist. They're singing all these chansons, French chansons, French songs. And she's got this was odd to hear after, I like the soprano a lot, but this is odd to hear after the Romaniw recording because her voice is so unique, and Devielle's voice is very high and bird-like. But it's got a French quality to it that fit perfectly with these songs. And I like her a lot, so I really wanted to hear this one. One point about this, I said that we would hear Scheherazade again, but we will not. We will hear, actually, on this one, Ravel's 5 popular Greek melodies played for soprano and piano. Now, we heard this on the Knedjikova recording that we talked about last week with the orchestra, and I felt like it wasn't idiomatic. Here, this is interesting. These works really are written for a baritone, I feel. They work best in a low man's voice, low male voice. Now, she's got this very high, sort of bird-like voice, and instead of just interpreting these the way the baritone would, they changed their approach. I've never heard them perform like this, and I really loved it. The pace is a lot faster, and she captures a different quality to these songs than you generally hear. So I would recommend this particular performance of those works. Again, this is a set of French chansons. There are a few Poulenc songs, and they sound more like popular songs. There's a lot of the cabaret in them, although they're kind of like a funny balance between art song and popular song. It's also got his famous work, Le Chemin d'Amour, and also we have some popular songs by some famous songs by Fauré, Debussy, and that makes up the entire program. Worth hearing, I would say, if you like sopranos. Last, we get to the end. Paradise Lost by Anna Prohaska on soprano and Julius Drake piano on the Alpha label. This one features songs that have to do with Eve, of Adam and Eve. And there are lots of those in the repertoire. So Prohaska's voice is it's a heavy-ish soprano. Drake is a sensitive accompanist. Yeah, I liked this. I don't know really what to say about it. I thought it was well worth hearing. It was good. But that's all I'm gonna say about it. I really.
That's not him on the album cover, is it?
No, it is. That's her on the album cover with the apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her.
It's a woman. I wondered if. Yeah, well, it's not only her.
Oh no, it's not Julius Drake.
Yeah,
some model, I guess.
Does he always play shirtless, or is that just for?
I don't know. I think that's kind of the. I think he's the serpent or the devil there or something.
If you check out the pose too, like you at first you think she's got her hand on him, but then you say, well, that's quite a man hand, and he's got his hand on himself. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a funny album cover. So.
It is an odd album cover. Yeah. All right, and there it is, our take on the Gramophone Awards for 2021. Give these albums a listen, especially, well, anything you liked. Please give them a listen. I think one of the things I liked about reading Gramophone magazine back in the day, I still look at it occasionally, but a lot of their what do you call it? Their critics have certain biases that you get to know after a while, and this is actually a nice thing. If you know a critic's bias, and he's saying something like he doesn't like something, and you know that this is his bias, and you usually like the things that he doesn't like, then you know you're going to like that album. So it's kind of a nice quality. I'm hoping that we're doing a little bit of that here. So if you've figured out our biases by now, you'll say something we didn't like that you'll like. Anyway, give these records a listen. This should keep you busy long past Christmas. There are lots of these. I know they're going to keep me busy long past Christmas. As you've heard, I haven't heard a lot of them yet, and I want to get to them. Such a busy life, isn't it?
There's a lot here. Especially I want to check out the early music recordings.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go through those too.
Good. Yeah, and you should hear the Telemann too. I think you'll like that.
I will absolutely hear that. Yeah, because that whole category really, I enjoyed all of those really.
Yeah. So something old that we've talked about before, something new that we discovered, and still more to listen to. So, yeah. I guess it was worth checking all of these out and give some more things to add to the list.
Okay. Onward with new releases this weekend. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks a
lot. You want
lot.
to give our address again or something? Or
Yeah, so that's been a special edition of the 2021 Gramophone Awards as episode 31 of Adult Music, where you come to find music for the mature mind. We'll always give you something new to listen to, and in this case, you got an all-you-can-listen buffet of things to hear.
That's another thing about awards. It's a buffet.
Yes, it's a buffet. And if you've made it to the end and you're still listening, please do.
we really admire you.
Yes. Give us a comment or rating on whatever platform you're on. If you've got something to let us know about or any questions, do contact us by email at adultmusicpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll be back again next Monday with episode 32. 6 more recordings for you. I'm especially excited. I've got a nice jazz...
we got some good stuff coming this weekend.
Yeah, jazz trio lineup for you that I've been listening to, and it's going to be a good one. And we've got some oboe, too, which... that's really nice.
No, we've got some contemporary composers. That's kind of an important thing.
Yeah. Swinging modern, this coming podcast for 32. So that's all for today, and we'll see you again next Monday with 6 new recordings on the Adult Music Podcast.